Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Newsroom. I'm your host Khalid. But today is Monday, the 28th of October, 2024, and these are the stories that we will be highlighting during the course of the show. We'll begin, ladies and gentlemen, with the upsurge in the PSX. It has crossed the 91,000 benchmark, and that is a previously unheard of mark that the PSX has now crossed. We've been seeing since the last couple of months how the PSX slowly and steadily has been climbing the ladders one after the other and has been, crossing benchmarks previously unheard of since the last 6 months, and now another benchmark, that of 91,000. A lot of analysts, business analysts, point towards different economic indicators that have led to this, and also the upcoming decisions that might be taken in this regard in the month of November. We'll be highlighting that and more in our first segment. Our second story concerns the Israel and Palestine conflict, or the Israel and Lebanon conflict. The Israel-Palestine conflict, of course, started on the 7th of October, and today is the 387th day of that very conflict. When you look at the number of casualties, it has crossed 43,000 in Palestine alone, and the number of injured has crossed 100,000, and these are just the official numbers. The real numbers might be much more. Also in Lebanon, the number of casualties are increasing. 2,574 people have been killed so far, while 12,000 have been wounded. The same story is being repeated in Lebanon now that was happening in Palestine. This is going to be our second story. Then we are going to talk about poliovirus. We did talk about it a little bit earlier last week as well. But now the polio virus has been found in 16 districts across of Pakistan. The polio campaign is also beginning across Pakistan in different districts to not only try to stop the number of cases, but also to highlight the importance of taking these drops for the children. Then we are going to talk finally about Elon Musk, that as per a report by the Washington Post, who used to be an illegal migrant in the US in the 1990s. Strange that this report comes out, also strange because Elon Musk supports Donald Trump, and Donald Trump has a very clear stance as far as migrants are concerned. Let's begin with our first segment, and that concerns the PSX and the surge that has and of course the numbers that are showing a very positive outlook as far as Pakistan Stock Exchange is concerned. 91,000 is the benchmark that the PSX crossed today. We've been joined by two guests. Let me introduce them to you one by one. On my right is Dr. Muhammad Fahim Khan Jadoon. He is a political economist. I thank you very much, Dr. Saab, to have joined us. And we're joined by another Dr. Saab, who's a regular in our shows, Dr. Khalid Waleed, who's an economist as well. Thank you very much, Dr. Saab, to have joined us. We'll begin with you, Dr. Muhammad Fahim Khan Jadoon. The PSX, 91,000, previously unheard of. Even when you read it, you have to read it twice to believe that this is finally crossing an index of 91,000. The Pakistan stock market has also recently been termed as the world's best performing market by Bloomberg. What factors, in your point of view, contribute to this steady increase in the benchmarks as far as PSX is concerned?
Thanks for inviting me. It's a pleasure, and as per your question is concerned, I think to enhance efficiency, Pakistan can sustain growth by improving governance, especially in SOEs. And if we are talking about the PSX gains, we are talking about the investor expectations and the State Bank, which cut off all the trade benchmarks and all the other things regarding their 200 basis points reduction, has created bullish sentiment among investors, as lower interest rates reduce borrowing cost and stimulate economic activity. So this is the factor which create the phenomenal surge in the PSX index, and it will boom again if they will sustain some of the interest rates in the coming days.
All right, so that means that it can even cross maybe 92,000 in the coming days if this trend goes on. Dr. Khalid, what do you attribute this? I mean, is it strengthening economic fundamentals? Is it strong corporate result season? Is it improved liquidity? What, in your point of view, are the factors that are contributing to this previously unheard of numbers?
Yeah, thank you, Omar. Dr. Jadoon is very right that we need consistency and we need to maintain this level. What this surge in PSX mean for Pakistan is that there is a combination of statistical indicators plus perception-based qualitative indicators. Mixing these together, improvement in these two types of indicators drives
What are these
PSX.
indicators?
These indicators are macroeconomic performance, interest rate, decrease in interest rate, improvement in indicators such as external deficit, inflation and other sort of things. Second thing is that these indicators, they delve into conception base, or I would say delve into market confidence, I would say. So very important things in Pakistan right now are 4 C's, I would say. First is your credibility, confidence, coordination, and then consistency. These 4 C would drives what this rally of PSX and how it will meant for Pakistan's economy. Third thing is very important, that is that these macroeconomic indicators, improvement in these macroeconomic indicators should delve into microeconomic confidence of Pakistan's, not only in terms of investors' confidence, but confidence in general, particularly the masses. This will drive further and further improvement in the economy, and improvements in economy, it will sort of again boost up the Pakistan Stock Exchange performance. What Pakistan needs to do, policymakers, they need to maintain this confidence level, and they need to attract more and more foreign plus domestic investments into Pakistan's industries, not just the traditional industries, but the non-traditional ones, particularly in IT sector, in mines and minerals, and other sort of things. Last thing that what I would like to propose for this consistency in the rally of Pakistan Stock Exchange, bring more and more companies to the Pakistan Stock Exchange, so that the portfolio is broadened and we get this holistic sort of industrial growth in Pakistan. That would be the need of time for Pakistan.
And I think the PSX is a very strong and robust market to bring in more international players as far as this is concerned. Dr. Jadoon, a decline in inflation, a low current account deficit, higher remittances. There's a buzz in the market that next month the policy rate might be decreased. By how much? This is the question, whether it be by 100 or 200 basis points. What effect is this also going to have on the market sentiment as well as the PSX?
Actually, there are many factors. If we can see, we need fiscal discipline here, and effective monetary policy, and a stable macroeconomic policy. And as Khalid Saab really delve into all these things, he explained everything very brilliantly. So as far as I am concerned, in my humble opinion, I guess that if we have a good investor market, and if we get the non-financial firms in Pakistan, and they can get the assembly plant, and they can get the benefit out of this huge gap. So the PSX will gain much benefit out of it. But if the non-financial firms are not coming to Pakistan to invest, or if the FDIs are not coming, then I think that it will lose in the coming days.
All right, this is your point of view. How can we, Dr. Khalid, in your point of view, trigger investment and support higher economic activity? What are the methodologies or the methods that need to be applied now?
Well, Pakistan's dilemma is that Pakistan is caught between political discretion versus the textbook theoretical economic initiatives. We need to find a very sweet spot balancing these two outs. The Finance Minister of Pakistan on the floor of National Assembly, while announcing the budget, categorically mentioned that government is now going to reduce its footprint. There would be more market determined economy. So if we want to have more stimulus in economic side, or bring more foreign investments, or boost up the confidence of investors, we need to have market driven economy. We need to have rule versus discretion approach, where rule would dominate, economic rule would dominate. And lastly, government should sort of reduce its footprint so that private investors, the confidence of private investors, that is boosted up. Lastly, very important that we create opportunities for youth, because Pakistan has a youth bulge. If the youth is graduating from the universities right away, they should be integrated in such a way with the modern economy that the industry should take up that fresh graduates, and there is a linkage between academia, industry and policy. In that way, we would be tackling this huge youth bulge of Pakistan and stimulating economic growth in Pakistan as well.
All right. Dr. You wanted to add something to it?
Yes, taking his point of youth, like we have a biggest market of entrepreneurs and freelancers here, the IT guys. So if we accommodate them, and if the PayPal come to Pakistan, that would be a big plus. So that's what.
All right. I mean, that could happen, and we don't know. You know, the more you stabilize a sector, the more interest it evinces from the international market, and the more people want to come in and add their portfolio to our stock exchange. I think that would be interesting. Maybe that is something that could happen. Our finance minister was in the US, met with the World Bank, IMF, and many other important leaders as far as the financial world is concerned. He returns and he says that he outlined the significant economic reforms and tax policies that were aimed at increasing transparency and sustainability in Pakistan's economy while talking to them. And of course, there were different discussions as far as the economic and financial stability is concerned. In your point of view, he also says that the US business communities are willing to invest in Pakistan, as all the rating agencies, and we know about those, have recently stated that the economy was moving in the right direction. How to sustain now the economy on the right path and further scale down inflation? This is a very important point that I'd like your point of view on scaling down inflation.
Well, one thing is sure that investors, they see returns. If they are getting their returns, they would invest. And for returns, there should be an investment-friendly climate in the country, and there should be confidence level, there should be credibility. Right now, Pakistan has all these, I would say, all these C's, that is credibility, confidence, consistency, coordination. What Pakistan government and policy makers, they need to do is they need to find this balance between how they sort of attract more and more foreign investors, plus giving boost to the confidence of local investors as well. Thirdly, what you mentioned is that there is a decreasing trend in inflation. How this decreasing trend in inflation is trickling down towards decreasing the cost of input vis-a-vis decreasing the investment cost, or bringing more cost, decreasing cost of doing business in Pakistan. That would be the key for stimulating more and more economic growth. So we need to do two things. First, translate this improvement in macroeconomic indicators towards the microeconomic prosperity, not only for the consumers, but for the investors or the small and medium enterprises as well, in terms of decreasing their input costs, so that more and more industrial units and small and medium enterprises, they mushroom up, and they have this mushroom growth, and they sort of contribute to the economy. Because Pakistan's economy, if you see the GDP's contribution, you will see that there is 20% comes from agriculture side, 20% almost comes from the manufacturing side, and 60% comes from the services side. We have this quantum leap in our economy, where we shifted from traditional agriculture based economy towards service sector. In that process, we neglected our industrial sector. So we need to have pro-industrial policies, so that more and more entrepreneurship, more and more industrial units, they form up in Pakistan, and they sort of boost the GDP. That would be more sustained, more persistent, and more consistent in terms of economic growth.
Yes, you wanted to add something.
Yes, I just wanted to say that, as he rightly mentioned, that Pakistan can sustain growth by improving governance, especially in the state-owned enterprises. So, if reducing energy costs by shifting toward renewable sources will support industries, and if we can have more focus on enhancing productivity and competitiveness in the fields of, by investing in the fields of education, healthcare, and the skill development.
All productivity development, I mean, these are important indicators as well, but at the same time, our finance minister, Dr. Khalid, also points towards, gives some statements that are interesting and important at the same time. He says the World Bank is going to give Pakistan a grant, not a loan. Then he says the government will try not to take a loan from the IMF anymore, so which means this is going to be the last program, and he hopes that this is, of course, going to be the last program. What kind of decisions need to be taken to ensure all of this happens?
Well, I will circle back to my first point that we need to have, we need to follow textbook theoretical economics, rule versus discretion. If there is economic rule dominating the policy making, we will sort of leave the IMF program and we will have this independent economy. What will it take? It will take more structural reforms, more market-based approaches, particularly in terms of privatization, in terms of bringing corporatization of these state-owned enterprises, particularly in energy sector of Pakistan, and then boosting up the confidence of investors so that more and more, not only the foreign investors, but regional and domestic investors, their confidence is boost up. And then in terms of revenue enhancing measures, government requires to bring efficiency to tax collection, not only in terms of revenue collection, but the tax policy supporting Pakistan's economic growth as well, bringing more and more informal sector to the formal economy. Secondly, which is very important and which is very neglected in Pakistan, is the consumption side of the equation as well, which means that we need to rationalize public spending, we need to make them more productive, increasing their allocative efficiency, particularly in terms of those sectors which are directly under the control of government and they are directly influencing the business. For example, energy sector, for example, gas sector, for example, these communication and transportation sectors. So we need to have this balanced growth, but still focusing on some of the sectors that we have competitive advantage in it, and then we need to explore some non-traditional sector as well. For example, minerals, for example, particularly Dr. Jadoon mentioned that we need to shift towards renewable energy, and there are renewable energy minerals that are in demand, that are in talk. So we need to explore that as well. Maybe SIFC can provide this platform where we can bring all these stakeholders together and have this whole of society and whole of sector approach so that we can stimulate economic growth.
Some of the other statements that the finance minister also said, my next question is to the both of you. I'll begin with you, Dr. Khalid, and then we'll go to Dr. Jadoon. The foreign minister says that we are erasing the term non-filer. He says we need a legal cover for non-filers. He says we are going to raise a tax to GDP ratio from 9% to 13%. He talks about the reforms in the FBR. This is something that has been going on since quite some time. Even in the interim government, they had talked about the reforms in the FBR. He says that their focus is on reducing imports, increasing exports in sectors like IT and agriculture, transitioning government-owned enterprises to private management where it is feasible. And of course, he talks about Pakistan's first panda bond as well in the Chinese market that is going to be introduced. And he talks about the government's commitment for sustainable economic growth, building a resilient financial system in Pakistan. These are many statements coupled in one. I'll like your point of view on it. I'll begin with you, Dr. Khalid, and then Dr. Jadoon.
Well, if you allow me to bring theoretical economics into it, there is a relationship known as Laffer curve. What Laffer curve says that when you increase tax rate, tax revenue increase in first phase, but when one point crosses, when you increase above that point, your tax revenue starts to decline. So we need to find this balancing act. We need to find what is that spot in Pakistan. After that spot, we need to diversify the tax portfolio, bringing more and more new sectors vis-a-vis increasing the tax base of the country. So what tax policy or the dimension of tax policy should look like in Pakistan is that we need to diversify and we need to bring more and more informal sectors to the tax net. For that, this initiative of abolishing the term of non-filers, that would be very important. So maybe anyone who gets the Nadra's ID card it should be enrolled in the tax system, and the NIC number, that should be the NTN of that person. So making everyone a participatory sort of thing, and this will not only bring more and more people to the tax net, but it will also boost up the confidence those who are contributing more towards tax revenues, particularly the income and salaried class. So in that way, there would be a pro-growth taxation system in Pakistan. Lastly, there should be separation of tax administration, that is collection of tax, and tax policy, so that tax policy can be pro-growth and tax administration can collect more and more tax.
All right. Dr. Jaloon, what's your take on all these statements that the Federal Minister for Finance has given?
Actually, the government's measure to increase transparency in terms of the non-filer category, reforming tax administration are positive steps, I guess, towards the sustainability. And the next is issuing a PANA bond in the Chinese market will diversify Pakistan's funding sources, actually. And these reforms are essential for sustainable growth and reflect a long-term strategy to enhance economic resilience, I guess.
All right. What about the tax to GDP ratio and the other statements that he's taken? You feel that all that is achievable if the right direction is taken and the right direction is being taken, because we see the indicators that are also pointing in the right direction, and the PSX also that is moving in the right direction. Thank you very much to the both of you. Of course, Dr. Mohammad Fahim Khan Jadoon and Dr. Khalid Waleed to have joined us, to have given us your eminent point of view as far as not only Pakistan's current economic situation is concerned, but also the PSX that is getting stronger and stronger with literally every passing day. Let's hope and let's wish that this momentum continues and Pakistan's economy gets stronger and becomes more stable. Thank you very much to both of my guests. Let's begin with our second segment, and that concerns the Middle East situation. Today is 387 days since the conflict began in Gaza, but the number of casualties continues on increasing. 43,000 plus people have lost their lives since the 7th of October. More than 100,000 people, in fact 101,110 have been injured since the 7th of October last year. At the same time, if you go to Lebanon, because now this conflict is not just relegated to Gaza, to Palestine, but also has trickled down to Lebanon, to Syria and to Yemen as well. The number of casualties as far as Lebanon is at least 2,574, including 127 children, while 12,001 people have been wounded in the Israeli attacks since the war in Gaza began. Then the forced migration, of course, of Gazans that continues, and those in Lebanon also that continues unabated. And we all know what has happened in Tyre. We know that the people are being displaced from there. We know that the Israeli forces are also continuing the bombardment of the area. The United Nations Human Rights Office says it is concerned Israel may be causing the destruction of the Palestinian population in Gaza, northernmost governorate, through death and displacement. Nothing new there, and the United Nations has been highlighting this fact again and again, but apparently seems to fall on deaf ears. Iran and Israel's tensions have also increased, and there is a statement by the Iranian president as well as the Foreign Office spokesperson as far as the Israeli attack on Iran is concerned, which has of course led to 5 casualties, 4 policemen or their forces people, and 1 civilian who's been killed. That has been confirmed by the Iranian side. We've been joined by 2 guests. Let me introduce them to you one by one. In the studios, we've been joined by our veteran, Dr. Munawar Hussain. He is a Foreign Affairs expert. Thank you very much, Dr. Saab, to have joined us. And online, we've been joined by Dr. Saira Nawaz Abbasi, who's an international relations expert. Dr. Saira, thank you and welcome to the show. We'll begin with Dr. Munawar. Dr. Munawar, let's talk about Gaza. 24-day military operation in northern Gaza leaves 1,000 people dead, and mostly women and children. We always see that it's women and children that are the main target, despite the fact that the Israeli side apparently says that they are targeting those who have been behind the cause of the 7th of October 2023. Then we see also in the West Bank there are arrests that are being made, there are demolitions that are happening, and settlements that are also slowly and steadily creeping in. What is, in your point of view, Benjamin Netanyahu's strategy vis-a-vis Gaza and the West Bank?
Apartheid state has only one strategy, and that is ethnic cleansing. They want to dismantle their infrastructure. They want to kill the civilians because they are not human beings, they are animals as per their belief system. And they want to establish their own new settlements. And this is colonization, to fulfill the aim of Greater Israel. And last but not the least, Netanyahu want to remain in power. Only war situation supports him to remain in power, because there is serious corruption cases which are proven. And since there is polarization in Israeli society, if war is over, peace is maintained, Netanyahu would lose the power. So the purpose is to escalate the war. Otherwise, Israel has got defeat in the war. All three purposes, they failed to achieve. Release of hostages failed. Eradicating completely destroying the network of Hamas, which in fact they are failed, because Aristotle believes it is idea which is more important and real than the reality. And on the case of northern Israel, Hezbollah, they said that we would go and we would capture the southern Lebanon and would make it a buffer zone. They could not control even 1 inch of southern Lebanon. So complete failure. So Israel is in a deep trouble. Netanyahu is in a deep trouble. Only the survival option is to escalate the war.
And that is why more and more people are being killed. That is why there are more and more, bombardments in different areas, whether it be in Gaza, whether it be in Lebanon. And this, you feel, is going to go on for quite some time.
Yes, exactly. It would go on and on. But one thing is very much clear, that when I say Israel is defeated, because the concept of invincibility is eroded now. And the whole world is now understand that Israel cannot fight a single day war without the help of United States of America. It means the Israeli economic, political and military power is completely exhausted.
All right. Dr. Saira Nawaz Abbas, you must have heard Dr. Munawar speaking in detail about Netanyahu's strategy. I'd like to extend a little bit on that strategy, and I'd like to quote the Israeli Finance Minister Smotrich, who has reiterated his call for the removal of Palestinians from Gaza and for hundreds of thousands of settlers to establish themselves in new cities and settlements deep in the West Bank. How do you see this statement?
Smotrich's statements reflect an extreme vision for the future of Gaza and the West Bank. By advocating for the policies that are totally against the established international norms and principles, particularly related to the human rights and territorial sovereignty. So his call to forcibly displace the Palestinians to other Arab countries and establish further illegal settlements, these depicted as an expansionist agenda of the Israel that is very much rooted in the demographic engineering, which they are keeping on till last year October, and reshaping the region to secure Israeli territorial and security ambitions. So such statements and arguments would pose a risk to further deepen the regional instability, further fueling the cycle of violence, and would bring the alienation both at international allies level and for the peace advocates at the international community also. It also, I believe, contradict the diplomatic efforts toward a negotiated two-state solution. So that will, I believe, undermine the Israel's image in the global forums committed to the humanitarian standards. So if pursued, these policy would, I believe, further exacerbate the tensions with the neighboring Arab countries and could provoke severe international condemnation, which is I think not a good thing for the Israel's reputation at the international community also, and it will make the lasting peace even more elusive.
Well, the lasting peace really seems elusive as we speak, because Dr. Munawar, if you look at the ceasefire talks, you remember Joe Biden's 3-point agenda for ceasefire, and that was for a couple of weeks. Now we see the Egyptian president who who talks about a 2-day ceasefire. So we've come from a couple of weeks to just a 2-day ceasefire. Then we've got the head of Mossad who and the head of CIA who are meeting with the Qatari heads of the Qatari Prime Minister as well, as at the same time when this agenda of the Egyptian president is being put forward. What are you going to foresee? Is there going to be a 2-day ceasefire?
This is a serious question. Why a very, very short ceasefire? It means Israel is exhausted and you want to give the oxygen to the Israelis. And why Hamas and Hezbollah would be serious for this ceasefire? Because they have nothing at stake. Their major leadership is targeted. Their infrastructure is dismantled. Their civilians are killed, doctors are killed, workers are killed, even
and continue to be killed.
Continue to be killed. So nobody is listening them. Only resolutions and statements. Now Israel is exhausted, as I said, and Hamas and Hezbollah, they don't have any at stake at this moment. Now Israeli security is at stake. I am not saying this. I am in a few years. Before the death of Henry Kissinger, he predicted the policies of Israel is dragging Israel towards its complete elimination. CIA predicted like 2 decades earlier, the policies of Israeli is pushing Israel towards very dangerous situation where its existence would be in danger. So therefore, now the non-state actors who are fighting against Israelis, why they would have 2 days, you see, ceasefire, they know that Israelis are failed to take the hostages back. So therefore, until and unless United Nations resolutions are not implemented, war crimes are not punished, there would be no ceasefire. I doubt seriously, because at this moment Israel is at the back footing, and therefore they are saying we have got our all targets in the Lebanon and now we are finishing this operation. It means they are in a very serious situation.
And there's also an internal strife within the Israeli government when Yoav Gallant and Netanyahu are not on the same point as far as where to take this current war or this current conflict forward.
Yeah, exactly.
Dr. Saira Nawaz Abbasi, coming to you, let's talk a little bit about Lebanon, where Tyre, which is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, is being bombarded since the last couple of days. The number of casualties has, is increasing. Is 7 now, the number of injured is 17, but the total number of killed since this incursion began is 2,574. Is Lebanon, in your point of view, becoming another Gaza?
Definitely, Lebanon is turning to be another flashpoint, a regional flashpoint between this Israel-Palestine conflict. And if you see the cycle of conflict which is going on, that is bringing the expansionism in the war theater also by the Israel. So that would bring more instability within the region. And that depicted a grand strategy of the Israels, that they want to make a greater Israel, the concept of greater Israel and the greater Middle East. So they are employing these tactics to bring other states into the conflict also. They try to bring Iran into the conflict. They try to bring Lebanon into the conflict by targeting it, and then to bring to make their opinion more pronounced, and to present themselves as, as the victim of the war rather than making it atrocities across the region. So they want to get the sympathies of the world also, and they want to bring, to divert the attention on the human rights violation, and to bring the American into the war theater also.
But will the Americans enter the war theater is a huge question. What's your take on that? Because, the fact is that Israel attacked Iran recently, and there have been statements from the Iranian side, whether it be from the Iranian president or from the Iranian foreign ministry spokesperson, and Iran has said that it is going to react to this as well. The whole aim of Israel is to not only bring Iran into the fray, but also bring US into the fray, so that it becomes a conflict where from which it can take itself out, because as you said, it is exhausted. What do you see as far as the Iran-Israel conflict is concerned? Is it going to intensify?
It has already been intensified. The Cold War was going on between Iran and Israel. A conflict, a general conflict was, we were observing general conflict between United States of America and Iran. There were some specific cooperations as well in the case of Afghanistan, in the case of Iraq, and now question is why Iran showed restraints in attacking Israel so immediately after their main leadership or Ismail Haniya was targeted. The reason was the restraint on the pressure of United States of America. So I believe that if you see the pattern of Iran in the history, they would retaliate, yes. But at this moment, because Israeli air attack is completely a failure mission. I mean, the air superiority of Israel, which was giving an impression to international community and the regional actors that Israel is so powerful, is completely failed. Even they could not enter into the airspace of Iran. So therefore, they had fighter jets, you see. So therefore, I believe since this attack is failed, number one. Number two, the rockets in majority, they are intercepted. Number three, because of the request and pressure of United States of America, Iran is consistently showing the restraints. I don't think that Iran would retaliate immediately. But as far as the tension, yes, tension would remain there, because if Hezbollah has a major injury on the front of Lebanon, then Iran would be activated there. And Iran would not like that its major ally in the region, maybe it become a weaker party, which is providing a sense of security to the Iranian interests in the region and beyond.
All right. Dr. Saira, do you feel that there are fissures that are emerging within the communities, within the countries in the West as a result of this Palestine or Israel-Lebanon conflict? On the one hand, we see Nordic countries that have issued a statement against the blocking or the banning of UNRWA. On the other hand, we've got the Spanish foreign minister who says his country is going to continue contributing to the United Nations peacekeeping force in Lebanon, and that is something that Israel does not want. Are these points differences? Let's not say fissures. Let's say differences in points of views in the international community. Is that going to lead to something more substantial as far as the Middle East is concerned? Is it going to lead to some kind of settlement of the dispute, some kind of a thaw as far as the current uncertainty and violence is concerned?
Well, I wish to see optimism in this situation, but if we see the past 1 year in which many countries, the member of the international civil society, public opinion, and many European states, and other than the European states, world public opinion raises concern about the situation in the Palestinians. So while the Nordic countries, their concerns are of course very, very significant, but we have to see that the ultimate impact will depend on the combination of international advocacy, geopolitical dynamics, and the ongoing humanitarian situation that is going on in the region. So there are challenges that lie in translating the expression of concern into effective measures that can safeguard the operations of UNRWA and the support for the Palestinian refugees. So without a robust international response, and time and again I have discussed in your programs also and in other programs also that the diplomatic leverage that the United States is enjoying at the moment as I think no other state could enjoy. And that diplomatic leverage, if the United States is not going to utilize or exercise, I don't think that this optimism of me, my wish to see the optimism could prevail in this situation. We have seen that there had been many, voices within the Israel before the attack of Iran that they should strike the nuclear facility or they should strike the oil facility. And because the United States did not want any hampering of the oil supply to alienate the international community and the risks that would involve striking the the nuclear facility of the Iran. So US was against it. So Israel did not go with these options, although there were many Israelis who wished to do that. So we can see that the US could play a very, very important diplomatic leverage in this situation. Or unless or until they don't use it, so other states, if they show their concern or they make their efforts, I think they are less significant as compared to the United States role into all these.
Thank you very much, Dr. Saira Nawaz Sahiba, to have joined us and to have given us your, of course, point of view, which is very appreciated as far as this Middle East conflict is concerned. Coming to you, Dr. Munawar, last question. The role of the US is something that Dr. Saira alluded to, and that brought a smile to my face. Anyways, the White House says the US President Joe Biden is very concerned about the apparent leak of US government documents that outline intelligence assessments about Israel's preparations to attack Iran. What do such hacks signify? Because the more you dig into things like these, the more you unearth different problems that the US might be facing vis-a-vis this Middle East conflict. Do you feel that the US is going to retain its strong hold on this Middle East conflict in the long run? Do you feel the presidential elections are going to change anything, or the stance will remain the same?
There are three important points. Number one, as far as US influence is concerned, it is eroded, frankly speaking, in the Middle East, in South Asia, and even in Africa, and some extent in Europe because of the Ukrainian war. Because always I say there are three phenomena that we are observing: rising centers of power, reversal of US influence in the world, and resurgence of the middle range power, including Indonesia, Pakistan, Turkey, Saudi Arab, Iran, and Egypt. Second point is, who would be beneficiary of this leakage? I think who is the party which is more capable, influential in American society, in American economy, in American polity? That is the Jewish community.
Of course,
and
always has been.
And in the past we observed Lewinsky case, when there was a case against President Clinton. This was planned by the Jewish community to pressurize American presidents. Many times Netanyahu claimed that I know that how to manipulate the American presidents.
All right, we'll leave it at that because we're a bit short of time. Dr. Munawar, thank you very much to have joined us. It's always very interesting when I discuss, the Middle East or any other international topic with you. So thank you very much to have come all the way to the studios. Let's come to our last two stories very, very quickly. The first is poliovirus that has been found in 16 districts, and of course there's a huge polio campaign that is beginning as far as Pakistan is also concerned. And let's hope and let's wish that polio is eradicated from Pakistan once and for all, because the number of cases that we are seeing is brings a lot of questions to the efficacy and also the reaction of parents to the polio program as well. I think the parents also need to have a very robust role as far as vaccinating their children is concerned. Finally, Elon Musk, we all know him. He's the one who handles X or Twitter. He apparently, as a report in a report by Washington Post, is stated to be an illegal immigrant in the 1990s. Whether this thing is valid or not is another thing whatsoever, but the point remains that He is a huge and ardent supporter of Donald Trump, and Donald Trump has also promised some a good post for him once he comes into power. But we also know Donald Trump's stance as far as migration is concerned. So, many questions that emanate out of this. Let's see whether there's some clarity that comes in the coming days. With that, ladies and gentlemen, we come to an end of today's newsroom. We'll see you inshallah tomorrow with new stories segments that pertain to us, you and Pakistan. Stay safe. Allah Hafiz.